The great chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent. 500 representatives from across the stars sat in curved rows that reached toward the ceiling. No one spoke. No one moved. Fear hung in the air like a poison. In the center of the room, a hologram showed another star system blinking out of existence. It was the fourth this month. The void harvesters were getting faster. Commander Olivia Wright shifted in her seat. As the human representative, she was still new to these meetings. Earth had only joined the galactic community 30 years ago, and most humans were still not allowed to travel freely among the stars. The council thought they were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too violent. The Arcturus defense fleet has fallen, said Elder Zolak, his long blue fingers trembling as he spoke. His skin, normally bright as the oceans of Earth, had faded to a sickly pale shade. Their weapons were useless. Their shields failed. 12 billion lives. Gone. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Arcturians had the strongest military in the known galaxy. If they could not stop the void harvesters, no one could. We have tried diplomacy, said Representative Gall of the Vegan Confederacy, her feathered crest flat against her head in distress. We have tried surrender. We have tried hiding. Nothing works. They consume all energy in their path. Stars, technology, even the bioelectric fields of living beings. Commander Wright watched the fear spread across alien faces so different from her own. She had studied the records of the void harvesters. They were ancient, perhaps as old as the galaxy itself. They moved through space like living black holes, absorbing energy and leaving only cold, dead worlds behind. There is one option we have not tried, said Elder Zolak suddenly, looking directly at Commander Wright. One weapon we have kept, contained. The chamber went quiet again, but this time with tension rather than despair. You cannot be suggesting, began Representative Quill, his crystalline form glittering with alarm. I am, said Zolak firmly. We must fully unleash the humans. Commander Wright felt hundreds of eyes turn toward her, some filled with hope, others with new fear. Madness, shouted someone from the upper tiers. Their history is written in blood. They evolved as pursuit predators. They killed their way to the top of their food chain. Precisely, said Elder Zolak. While we evolved through cooperation or photosynthesis or symbiosis, humans evolved by hunting, by fighting, by never ever giving up even when logic said they should. Commander Wright stood up. At 38 years old, she had been chosen to represent Earth because she was calm, diplomatic, and understood alien cultures. But beneath her measured exterior beat the heart of a species that had survived ice ages, predators, plagues, and their own self-destructive tendencies. If I may speak, she said, her voice carrying through the chamber. Elder Zolak nodded. You fear us because we fight among ourselves, Wright said simply. Because we spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other. But you misunderstand what that means. She walked to the center of the chamber, standing beside the hologram of the dying star system. We don't fight because we love violence. We fight because we love. Period. We fight to protect our homes, our families, our ways of life. Yes, sometimes we fight for bad reasons too. For power or resources or simple hatred. I won't deny our flaws. Wright pointed to the hologram. But right now, everything we all love is being devoured. And humans, we're really good at stopping things that threaten what we love. The chamber erupted in debate. Commander Wright returned to her seat and watched as the council argued. Most species in the galaxy had evolved to avoid conflict whenever possible. Violence was seen as a sign of primitive development, a phase to outgrow. Humans had been allowed into the galactic community only after they showed signs of moving past their violent history, and even then, they were kept on a tight leash. The records from Earth's history are disturbing, said Representative Quill. Humans fought wars that covered entire continents. They built weapons that could destroy their own planet, and yet they stopped themselves from extinction, countered Elder Zolak. They pulled back from the brink. They channeled their aggression into art and sports and exploration, but they never lost their fighting spirit. As they debated, another alert sounded. Another star system was under attack, this one only 2 jumps away from the Council world itself. "We're out of time," said Elder Zolak. "We need the humans, not just the diplomats and scientists we've allowed into space, but all of them. Their soldiers, their generals, their entire fighting capacity." Commander Wright felt a chill. She knew what her people were capable of. She knew the violence that lurked in human history, but she also knew the courage, the determination, the refusal to surrender. "If we do this," said Representative Gall, "can we ever put them back in their box?" The question hung in the air. Commander Wright knew what they feared. If humans were fully unleashed among the stars, would they save the galaxy only to conquer it afterward? "We should vote," said Elder Zolak. "But know this. If we do not act, there will be nothing left to save or conquer." The vote was closer than Wright expected. Many species preferred extinction to what they saw as unleashing barbarians, but in the end, fear of the void harvesters outweighed fear of humanity. "Commander Wright," said Elder Zolak when the votes were tallied, "you will return to Earth immediately. Tell your leaders that the Galactic Council formally requests full human military mobilization against the void harvesters." Wright stood and gave the formal bow of the council. "There is one more thing," added Elder Zolak. "Tell them the truth. Tell them why we kept them contained all these years. Tell them we were afraid of them. And tell them that now, that fear is our greatest hope." As Commander Wright walked toward her ship, she composed the message she would send ahead to Earth. How would her people react when they learned they had been feared rather than respected? When they discovered that their place in the galaxy had been based on containment rather than cooperation? She suspected she knew the answer. Humans had always responded to challenges with their best and worst qualities side by side. They would be angry at the deception. They would be proud of their strength. And they would fight like hell to prove the Council both right and wrong about human nature. The fate of the galaxy now rested on the one thing humans did better than any other species: fighting to protect what they loved, no matter the odds. "Commander." Wright smiled grimly as her ship prepared for departure. The void harvesters were about to learn why humans were the most feared species in the galaxy. Commander Olivia Wright's ship landed at the United Earth Defense Headquarters in Geneva with a soft thud. The sleek vessel, a gift from the Galactic Council, looked out of place among the more practical human ships. Ambassador Keith Bennett was waiting for her on the landing pad, his face tight with worry. "How bad is it?" he asked as Wright descended the ramp. "Worse than we thought," she replied. "The Arcturus defense fleet is gone. 12 billion dead." Bennett swore quietly. As Earth's senior diplomat to the Council, he had worked for decades to improve humanity's standing among the stars. Progress had been slow. Most species still viewed humans with caution, allowing only carefully selected representatives like Wright and Bennett to travel beyond the solar system. "The Council has made a decision," Wright said. "They're asking for our help." "All of our help," Bennett's eyes widened. "You mean full military mobilization?" "They want humanity unleashed." They walked briskly through the building to the office of Director Maya Patel, head of United Earth Defense. Patel was a small woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. 2 generals flanked her desk, looking up as Wright and Bennett entered. "Commander, Ambassador." Patel nodded. "Your urgent message said the Council has made a decision?" Wright took a deep breath. "Director Patel, I need to tell you something that's going to make you angry, something the Council has hidden from Earth for 30 years. Over the next hour, Wright explained everything. How the Council had never kept humans contained because of their technological immaturity, but because of their biology and psychology. How humanity's evolution as pursuit predators, their capacity for violence and their relentless determination had frightened the peaceful species of the galaxy. "So they lied to us," Patel said flatly when Wright finished. "All this time, we thought we were being gradually accepted as equals. In reality, we were being kept in a cage, like tigers in a zoo," said one of the generals, an older man named Alan Rodriguez. admired for our strength but too dangerous to let roam free. And now the zookeepers are being attacked by something worse, so they're opening our cage," Bennett added bitterly. Wright nodded. "The Void Harvesters have destroyed everything the Council has thrown at them. Elder Zolak believes our unpredictability, our aggression, might be the only thing that can save the galaxy." Director Patel stood and walked to the window. Outside, the rebuilt city of Geneva sparkled in the morning sun. After centuries of war, disease, climate disaster, and social upheaval, humanity had finally found a fragile peace with itself. The discovery of alien life had united Earth in ways nothing else could. Now they learned that unity had been built on a lie. "We should call an emergency session of world leaders," Patel said finally. "Everyone needs to hear this." The news spread across Earth like wildfire. In homes and offices, on farms and in factories, humans watched their screens as Director Patel explained what the Council had hidden from them. Reactions ranged from outrage to pride, from calls for isolation to demands for immediate action. Houston, retired General Rodriguez was brought back to active duty. His controversial Predator Protocol, a military doctrine he had developed years ago, was suddenly in high demand. "I always said we needed to maintain our military readiness," Rodriguez told a room full of officers. "I was called paranoid, told the galaxy was peaceful. Well, it turns out the galaxy was just waiting for the biggest predator of all to arrive. The Predator Protocol was built around human biological and psychological advantages: endurance, pack, tactics, adaptability, the ability to ignore pain and exhaustion when necessary, the willingness to sacrifice for the group. The Council species evolved to avoid conflict," Rodriguez explained. "Their tactics are predictable, based on energy efficiency and logical risk assessment. But humans? We evolved to run down prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We evolved to take risks that seem insane to logical minds, and we're going to use every dirty trick we learned fighting each other for thousands of years." In research labs across the planet, scientists Diane Clark and Paul Martinez led efforts to adapt Earth's military technology. The Council had shared some advanced technology with Earth, but much had been withheld. Now, human ingenuity was unleashed to fill the gaps. "The Void Harvesters absorb energy," Dr. Clark explained to her team. "Council weapons are all energy-based: lasers, plasma, ionized particles. But we humans? We still love to throw rocks at our problems," Martinez nodded. "Kinetic weapons, railguns, good old-fashioned explosives. Things that go boom rather than zap." "Exactly," Clark said. "And according to Commander Wright's data, the Harvesters haven't encountered much of that. They might not have defenses against physical destruction." As Earth mobilized, Commander Wright watched with mixed emotions. The unity was inspiring. All across the planet, old enemies set aside their differences to face this new threat. But the speed with which humanity embraced its warrior nature was also concerning. Ambassador Bennett found her on the roof of the Geneva headquarters one night, looking at the stars. "Having second thoughts?" he asked. "The Council feared us for a reason," Wright said quietly. "You should see how they look at me now. Not just with hope, but with terror. They're afraid of what happens if we win." Bennett leaned on the railing beside her. "Are you?" Wright thought about the question. Humanity had come so far, had worked so hard to overcome its violent past. Would this war undo all that progress, or would it channel those predatory instincts toward protection rather than conquest? "I don't know," she admitted. "But I do know that if we don't fight, everyone dies. The Harvesters don't negotiate, don't show mercy. At least humans are capable of both, even if we don't always choose to use them." The first human battle fleet was assembled within a month. Ships that had been built for exploration and trade were quickly retrofitted with weapons. The flagship, a massive vessel named Defiance, would carry Admiral Frank Cooper and the first wave of human soldiers into battle. As the fleet prepared to depart, Director Patel addressed the crews. Her message was broadcast to every corner of Earth. "You go to fight not just for humanity, but for all life in the galaxy," she said. "Remember that. The Council feared us because of what we might become. Show them what we actually are, Not just predators, but protectors. Now go. Show the stars what humans can do. The fleet lifted off from Earth orbit, thousands of ships carrying the hopes of billions. Commander Wright, aboard the Defiance, watched her homeworld shrink behind them. The most feared species in the galaxy was on the hunt, and the Void Harvesters were about to become the prey. The human fleet arrived at Proxima Centauri just as the Void Harvesters began their attack. The Proxima system was home to a major council outpost, a gleaming collection of space stations and small colonies. Hundreds of alien ships were already engaged in battle, following standard council defense patterns in neat, orderly formations. They were losing badly. From the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Frank Cooper watched the council ships fall one by one. The Harvesters moved like dark clouds through space, absorbing energy weapons and shields with ease. When they touched a ship, all power drained in seconds. Life support, engines, weapons, everything went dark. Then the ships would drift cold and dead, their crews frozen or suffocating. "Well, that's not going to work," Cooper said calmly. He was a tall man with dark skin and a completely bald head. 30 years in Earth's Navy had left him with a face that rarely showed emotion, but his eyes missed nothing. "Council Command is requesting we join their formation," reported Lieutenant Carl Bishop from the communications station. Cooper shook his head. "Negative. Tell them we're implementing human tactics." He turned to his tactical officer. "Deploy the fleet according to Chaos Pattern Alpha. All ships prepare to fire kinetic weapons only. No energy weapons yet. Let's not feed these things." Commander Olivia Wright stood at the back of the bridge, watching as the human fleet broke, apart from its neat formation and scattered in seemingly random directions. Council observers would see this as panic or poor discipline. They didn't understand that chaos itself was a human weapon. "Admiral," she said, "the Council Commander is demanding an explanation for our formation change." Cooper smiled thinly. "Tell them we don't believe in making it easy for the enemy to predict our movements." The human ships darted in multiple directions, forcing the Harvesters to split their attention. Unlike the Council vessels, which moved in predictable patterns optimized by alien computers over centuries of warfare, the humans moved erratically. They accelerated when logic said to slow down. They turned toward danger instead of away from it. "First wave, fire railguns and missiles," Cooper ordered. From the human ships came weapons the galaxy hadn't seen in war for thousands of years. Solid metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. Missiles carrying old-fashioned chemical explosives. Clouds of metal shrapnel designed to tear rather than burn. The Harvesters, evolved to absorb energy, had no defense against these primitive attacks. The railgun slugs tore through their dark forms, leaving gaping holes that leaked a strange glowing substance. The missiles exploded against them, breaking their cohesion. For the first time since they appeared, the Void Harvesters began to retreat. "It's working," Wright said, unable to keep the surprise from her voice. "Of course it's working," Cooper replied. "They evolved to fight energy weapons. We evolved to throw rocks really, really well." A council ship hailed the Defiance. The alien commander's face appeared on screen, his four eyes blinking rapidly in what Wright recognized as extreme stress. "Your tactics are chaotic and wasteful," the alien said, "but effective. We will adapt our formations to support your attack." Cooper nodded. "Appreciated. Follow our lead, but keep your energy weapons powered down. Use physical ammunition only if you have it." As the battle continued, Lieutenant Susan Rodriguez led a small team on a different mission. Her shuttle approached, a damaged harvester vessel, something no council species had ever attempted. Boarding an enemy ship was considered suicidal by galactic standards. "Remember," Rodriguez told her team as they prepared to breach the harvester hull, "we need samples and data. Anything we can learn about their biology will help us fight them better." The team wore specially designed suits that generated no energy field. Their weapons were simple: sharp blades, mechanical projectile guns, even clubs. Nothing that the Harvesters could feed on. They cut their way into the alien vessel and found themselves in a nightmare. The interior pulsed with dark light. Strange, flowing structures moved like living organs. The air itself seemed to drink the heat from their bodies. "Stay together," Rodriguez ordered. and stay calm. They moved deeper into the vessel, collecting samples and scanning with passive instruments. Twice they encountered floating orbs that seemed to be Harvester crew members. The humans didn't hesitate. They attacked with their primitive weapons, destroying the orbs before they could react. Rodriguez found what appeared to be a central chamber. Inside, patterns of dark energy flowed between crystalline structures. "This looks important," she said, placing explosive charges around the room. "Let's take some samples and then blow it up." Council observers, watching through cameras on the human suits, were horrified by the brutality but couldn't argue with the results. The human team not only survived but gathered crucial data about Harvester biology and technology. Back on the Defiance, Dr. Elizabeth Grant studied the samples Rodriguez's team brought back. As a xenobiologist, she had a theory about the Harvesters. "They're not just absorbing energy," she told Admiral Cooper and Commander Wright. "They're communicating through energy pattern modulation. Look at these readings. The fluctuations aren't random." Cooper leaned forward. "Are you saying they talk to each other through energy pulses?" "Exactly," Grant said. "And if they communicate that way, we can disrupt it," Wright finished. "Jam their signals." Grant nodded excitedly. "We can broadcast energy patterns that will confuse them, maybe even hurt them. It would be like shouting nonsense in their ears while they're trying to coordinate." Cooper immediately ordered the fleet's engineers to modify their communication arrays. Within hours, human ships began broadcasting disruptive energy patterns directly at the Harvesters. The effect was immediate. The dark entities lost coordination, their movements becoming erratic. The combined human and council fleet pressed the advantage. Railguns tore holes in the confused Harvesters. Missiles broke apart their formations, and the jamming signals prevented them from coordinating a response. For the first time since they appeared in the galaxy, the Void Harvesters were in full retreat. As the last Harvester fled the system, the human fleet erupted in celebration. Crews cheered and laughed. Music played over ship intercoms. Some even broke out hidden bottles of alcohol, strictly against regulations but tolerated by officers who understood the need to release tension after battle. The council representatives watched these celebrations with a mixture of relief and unease. The humans had saved them, yes. But the joy they took in victory, the casual way they discussed killing their enemies, reminded the aliens why they had feared humanity in the first place. Elder Jolak, who had come to observe the battle, approached Commander Wright on the Defiance's observation deck. "Your people fight like nothing we have ever seen," he said quietly. "I wonder if we have unleashed something as dangerous as the Harvesters themselves." Wright looked at the old alien, seeing both gratitude and fear in his large eyes. "The difference," she replied, "is that we're on your side. For now." She turned back to watch her fellow humans celebrating their victory, wondering what the galaxy would look like when this war was over, and what humanity would become in the process of winning. News of the victory at Proxima Centauri spread quickly through the galaxy. For the first time since the Void Harvesters appeared, hope began to replace fear. But the Harvesters were far from defeated. They still controlled hundreds of star systems, and they were adapting to human tactics. Captain Gregory Hayes led a small fleet of fast attack ships on what the Council would have considered a suicide mission. His orders were to strike Harvester supply lines and staging areas, then retreat, before they could respond. No Council commander would have attempted such a mission. They believed in meeting the enemy head-on with overwhelming force, not these quick, dirty attacks that the humans called guerrilla warfare. "Hit and run, people," Hayes told his crews before each mission. "We're not here to win battles. We're here to make them bleed." His ships would appear from nowhere, strike hard with kinetic weapons and disruptive signals, then vanish before the Harvesters could organize a response. These attacks forced the enemy to divert resources from their main advance, buying time for the rest of the human and Council fleets to prepare. Meanwhile, on the massive Council station known as the Hub, Earth's diplomatic team pushed for changes to the United Defense Strategy. Natalie Fisher, a sharp-minded woman in her 50s, led these efforts. She faced strong resistance from species who had spent thousands of years developing their military doctrines. Your proposal to integrate human officers into alien units is unacceptable, said the Rigelian commander, his scaled skin flushing orange with emotion. Our troops would not understand your chaotic methods. With respect, Fisher replied calmly, your troops are dying because they're too predictable. We're not asking them to become human. We're asking them to become less predictable. Day after day, she fought these battles in meeting rooms while human soldiers fought real battles in space. Slowly, as more systems fell to the harvesters, resistance to human methods weakened. The influence of humanity spread beyond military tactics. Younger aliens began adopting human concepts like fighting spirit and never surrender. Some even started using human gestures and slang. Council elders watched this cultural shift with alarm. They're contaminating our youth, complained a vegan representative to Elder Zolak. My daughter asked for human music recordings. She talks about courage and standing your ground instead of harmony and consensus. Zolak, who had seen the humans fight at Proxima, simply nodded. Perhaps some contamination is necessary for survival, he said quietly. Dr. William Parker worked day and night in his lab aboard the science vessel Curiosity. The samples from Lieutenant Rodriguez's boarding mission had given him an insight about harvester psychology that no one else had considered. They experience fear, he told his team, pointing to readings on his screen. Look at these energy patterns when we disrupted their communication. They're not just confused, they're afraid. This was revolutionary. The council had assumed the harvesters were emotionless, driven only by the need to consume. The idea that they could be frightened opened new possibilities. We need to weaponize this, Parker said. Not just disrupt their communication, but use it to terrify them. His team developed new broadcasting systems that didn't just jam harvester signals, but transmitted energy patterns that triggered fear responses. When tested in battle, harvesters exposed to these broadcasts sometimes fled without fighting. Lieutenant Maria Lopez led a special forces team deep into harvester territory to test Dr. Parker's theories further. Their mission was to plant devices that would broadcast fear signals directly into a major harvester hub. The mission was dangerous beyond imagination. Lopez and her team had to navigate through space controlled by an enemy that could detect any energy emissions. They used ships with minimal power, traveling on ballistic trajectories much of the way, using short thruster bursts only when absolutely necessary. We're basically throwing ourselves across space and hoping we land in the right place, Lopez told her team with a grim smile. The good news is the harvesters won't expect anything this crazy. She was right. They reached the harvester hub, undetected, and placed the broadcasting devices. When activated, the devices sent panic rippling through the harvester collective. The mission cost many human lives, but it proved that psychological warfare against the harvesters was possible. As human influence in the war effort grew, Commander Wright noticed concerning trends. Some humans began viewing council species with contempt for their perceived weakness. In mess halls and recreation areas, she overheard comments like, "No wonder they were losing," and "They'd be extinct without us." At the same time, some council members clearly saw humans as necessary barbarians to be contained again once the crisis ended. They used terms like temporary alliance and post-war security measures in their private discussions. Wright brought these concerns to Ambassador Bennett during a rare quiet moment on the hub station. "We're winning battles," she said, "but I'm worried about winning the peace that follows." Bennett nodded. "The council fears us more than ever, even as they rely on us. And some of our people are starting to enjoy being feared a little too much. We need to show them we can be more than just killers," Wright said. "That humans fight hard, yes, but we also build. We create art. We care for the wounded, even enemy wounded." "That's why you're here," Bennett replied. "You remind both sides that there's more to humanity than our capacity for violence." Before Wright could respond, alarms sounded throughout the station. A council aide rushed into the room. "Commander Ambassador," the aide said breathlessly, "we've detected a massive harvester force gathering at the galactic core. Our analysts believe they're preparing for a final assault." Bennett's face paled. "The core? There are trillions of lives in those central systems. Wright was already moving toward the door. Tell Admiral Cooper to prepare the fleet. All ships, all weapons. Tell Captain Hayes to abandon his current mission and join the main force. As she hurried through the station, Wright knew this would be the decisive battle. The Harvesters were gathering their strength for one massive attack. The combined Human Council fleet would meet them in what would surely be the largest space battle in galactic history. The outcome would determine not just who controlled the galaxy, but what kind of galaxy it would be. Would it remain the peaceful, cooperative community the Council had built over thousands of years? Would it become a human-dominated space with aliens adapting to human ways? Or would there be nothing left but cold, dead worlds where the Harvesters had fed? Wright reached the command center where Elder Zolak was already studying the tactical displays. "This is it," she said simply. The old alien nodded. "Indeed, Commander. The final battle approaches. May your predatory nature serve us all one last time." Wright didn't correct him, didn't tell him that humans were more than predators. There would be time for that lesson later, if they survived. The combined Human Council fleet gathered at the edge of the galactic core region. Over 10,000 ships formed a defensive line against the coming Harvester assault. The core contained the oldest and most densely populated worlds in the galaxy. If it fell, trillions would die, and the galaxy itself might never recover. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Cooper studied the tactical displays showing the massive Harvester force. Their dark forms blotted out the stars, moving slowly, but steadily toward the fleet. "They've adapted to our railguns and missiles," Cooper said grimly. "Look at those new shield formations." Commander Wright nodded. "And they're using different communication patterns to resist our jamming signals." The Harvesters had proven to be quick learners. After each defeat, they adjusted their tactics and defenses. This final force represented their complete evolution as an enemy of life. "So we change our approach again," Cooper said. He turned to his communications officer. "Patch me through to the entire fleet." When the channel opened, Cooper spoke clearly and calmly. "This is Admiral Cooper. The enemy approaching us has adapted to our previous tactics. They expect us to fight the way we fought before. We will not oblige them. Execute Operation Endgame." Throughout, the fleet human commanders received their new orders. The plan was considered insane by Council standards, using the main fleet as bait to draw out the Harvester central consciousness, while a small strike team infiltrated the enemy's heart. "The fleet will engage the Harvesters directly," Cooper explained to the Council commanders. "We'll make them commit fully to the battle. Meanwhile, Commander Wright will lead a strike team to the core of their formation. Elder Zolak, present, for this final battle, stared at Cooper in shock. "You'll sacrifice thousands of ships as a diversion? If necessary," Cooper replied evenly. "This isn't about saving ships, it's about saving the galaxy." The Council commanders reluctantly agreed to the plan. They had seen enough of human warfare to know that what seemed like madness often concealed a deeper strategy. Commander Wright prepared with her small team aboard the stealth ship Shadow. Dr. Elizabeth Grant and Dr. William Parker joined the mission, bringing their knowledge of Harvester biology and psychology. Lieutenant Rodriguez, veteran of the first boarding mission, would lead the security team. "Our goal is the Harvester central consciousness," Wright told them as they made final checks on their equipment. "The Harvesters aren't just a swarm. They have a controlling intelligence. If we can reach it, Dr. Grant and Dr. Parker believe we can end this war with one strike." As the main fleet engaged the Harvesters in a massive battle, the Shadow slipped through the chaos, its special hull absorbing sensor scans and its minimal energy signature hiding it from Harvester detection. The battle outside was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human and Council ships fought with desperate courage against the overwhelming Harvester force. They used every trick, every weapon, every sacrifice to keep the enemy's attention fixed on them rather than the small ship sneaking toward the heart of the Harvester formation. Inside the massive Harvester mothership, Wright's team moved carefully through pulsing corridors of dark energy. The ship seemed alive, with walls that flowed like liquid and floors that sometimes shifted beneath their feet. "Stay together," Wright ordered as they pushed deeper into the ship. Remember your training. They fought their way past Harvester, Guardians, floating orbs that could drain the life from a person with a touch. Rodriguez's team used their special weapons effectively, but each encounter cost them precious members. Finally, they reached what appeared to be the central chamber. A massive crystalline structure pulsed with dark light at its center, surrounded by flowing streams of energy that connected to every part of the Harvester Collective. "That's it," Dr. Grant whispered. "The central consciousness." Dr. Parker readied the special broadcasting device they had brought, designed to transmit directly into the Harvester mind. "We should destroy it," Rodriguez said, preparing explosive charges. Wright held up her hand. "Wait, Dr. Grant, can you establish communication?" Grant looked surprised. "Communication? Yes, theoretically. But why would we talk to it?" "Because I want to understand why they're doing this before we kill them," Wright replied. "We might need that knowledge for the future." Using the device, Grant established a crude form of communication with the Harvester consciousness. Images and emotions flooded into their minds rather than words. What they learned shocked them all. The Harvesters weren't inherently evil. They were ancient beings who had evolved at the beginning of the universe. They consumed energy because they feared the eventual heat death of the universe, the time when all energy would be evenly distributed and no work could be done. Their harvesting was an attempt to gather and preserve energy against that distant but inevitable end. "They're trying to save the universe," Grant said in wonder, "in their own way, by killing everyone in it now," Rodriguez countered bitterly. Wright stood silent for a long moment, processing this information. Then she turned to Dr. Parker. "Can we offer them an alternative? Not destruction, but cooperation?" Parker considered. "This. The fear broadcasting, we could reverse it. Show them that together, we might find better solutions to entropy than consuming everything now." Wright nodded. "Do it." Parker modified the device, while Rodriguez kept watch. When it was ready, Wright addressed the Harvester consciousness directly. "We understand what you fear," she said as Parker activated the device. "We fear it too. But there are better ways to face the future than destroying the present. Work with us, not against us." The device transmitted not just her words, but human emotions, hope, determination, and something the Harvesters had never encountered before: empathy for an enemy. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then the dark energy in the chamber began to shift and pulse in new patterns. The attack outside ceased abruptly. Throughout the galaxy, Harvester ships stopped their assault and withdrew. "It's working," Grant whispered. Wright's team returned to the fleet, bringing news of the unexpected truce. The Harvesters hadn't surrendered, but they had agreed to cease their attacks while communication continued. In the months that followed, the galaxy changed profoundly. Humanity was fully integrated into the Galactic Council. Their quarantine lifted completely. Human ingenuity and courage had saved everyone, but it was human empathy that had ended the war without total destruction. Many Council species began adopting human traits, not just their fighting techniques, but their adaptability, creativity, and capacity for both terrible violence and remarkable compassion. Humans, in turn, gained appreciation for the Council's emphasis on harmony and long-term thinking. The best of both approaches began to blend into something new. 1 year after the final battle, Commander Wright stood with Director Patel and Ambassador Bennett as they negotiated humanity's new status. Earth ships would serve as the galaxy's defenders, their predatory nature channeled toward protection rather than conquest. "The irony isn't lost on me," Bennett said as they watched human and alien vessels departing together from the hub station. "They feared us because we were predators. Now they value us for the same reason." "Not just predators," Wright corrected. "Protectors. That's the choice we made." A young alien child approached them, awkwardly offering a human handshake it had clearly practiced. Wright smiled and gently returned the gesture. "That's the real victory," she said softly. "Not that we taught them to fight like humans, but that we showed them there's more to us than fighting." As she looked out at the stars, Wright reflected that humanity's greatest contribution wasn't their ability to kill, but their unique capacity to be both fierce and gentle, both predator and protector, a paradox that had saved the galaxy once, and might do so again in the uncertain future that awaited them all.